do. My veins got intertwined with you, and your blood is poison, but I need you. Yeah, just to get to you, I gave my life. I jumped from the clouds thinking I could fly, but I came crashing down, and in your arms I died. In your arms I died. Was it murder, murder, or suicide? Murder, murder, or suicide? Murder, murder, was it suicide? Oh, the way I died, it was suicide.
It's so hard. It's so hard. It's so hard. It's so hard. It hurts.
Hello everyone, welcome again to the Highly OK podcast. It's been more than a week, so I hope you've been anticipating, waiting. We've got two special guests. One of them is a regular guest, another one, a special one. So let me introduce them for you. We've got Aya, the poet, the artist, the pharmacist, the writer, the liberal, yeah, you get that. Yeah. And we got Shaveen, the singer, the songwriter, the coder, the programmer, and yeah, we're all here. And me, obviously, the guy who likes to talk. So what we're going to do today, we're going to speak to both of them, and we're going to get an intake of what they think about what they do in Kurdistan, because they're not doing conventional stuff. They're doing things that are, on the artistic side of things, right? So they're creative, right? So we're gonna speak to them and see, because I'm not that sort of guy myself. Like, let me just introduce myself a bit, because I am the most basic dude out there. I'm just like,
gym, capitalism, beer,
whiskey, steak, yeah, that sort of guy, right? And these two are really close friends of mine, so we'll try not to get too personal. And they're really unconventional about their interests. They love painting. This one loves singing. We love singing, listening to her singing. So but yeah,
It's not true.
all right. So what we got, if you've been living under a rock, you probably haven't heard of Aya's gallery that's been going on for 2 days now. Today's going to be the third day. I didn't come to the second one. But I came for the first one. It was great. We had a great turnout. But I want to know what you feel. How was it? How did it turn out?
Honestly, it was a lot better than I expected. I expected 2 people to show up, but more than, I had 100 copies of my book, and I gave a book to each visitor. And I think I have only 20 copies left. So that's 80 people.
Yeah.
And some people didn't even take books, so...
That's really good.
It was great, yeah.
That's really good, yeah.
What I liked about it is there was a variety of people there. I mean, it wasn't just from people from the American University. I saw people that we usually see at other cafes and all of these sort of things. So what I liked is that the people that you wouldn't expect were there, and it was such a great turnout, in fact, yeah.
Yesterday, you guys weren't there.
Yeah.
Yesterday, all kinds of people showed up, and it was a bit weird because I had one man who criticized my work, which is a good thing. I'm here for criticism. And he was an artist himself. He was an old guy. The thing is, he liked some of my paintings, and he didn't like the others, especially the femininity series.
Okay.
Because he thought I didn't put enough work in it. But I think the real reason, that artist is known for drawing nude women.
Right.
He just draws nude women. And he didn't like my femininity series because I drew nude women not in a beautiful, sexy way.
Right. One of them was alright.
Yeah.
He didn't talk about that one.
Okay, alright.
He really disliked the red one, with the,
We'll try and put a picture up on it later on.
It was a pretty gory one, and he said, you didn't put enough work in this. And it was, in fact, the most I've worked on a painting. I told him, I worked a month on this. He says it doesn't show. And I was like, okay.
Was he just critical of those, or the...
He liked the other ones. He liked the Dream series. He liked the Experiment series, but he didn't like the other wall, the objects and the femininity one.
So wait, what I'm curious about is, did you actually explain to him?
I explained,
the process.
I
Because when you explained it to me, I really liked how the first one was meant to represent, the idea of femininity, what it's supposed to be in most people's eyes, right? And then the second one was the reality of femininity, which was really, really nice,
Yes, but his opinion was not mostly about the concept. It was about the execution and my skills, I guess. Because his work is mostly realistic, he expects me to have that kind of mastery. He's really good at what he does. Yeah. But he wouldn't get... I was explaining to him that my art is not about drawing realistically. It's about putting a feeling out there. It's supposed to make you feel something. And he said he didn't relate to it. And I was like, I respect that. It's cool. And he left. I think that was the best part of the gallery. I finally had like a real I felt like, I have haters now.
Serious? But there was no one else that was critical?
There was a guy from your university, I think. He wasn't critical. I don't know if he's watching this right now, but he said he came up to me and he said that he read my book, and I said, "Did you like it?" He said it was okay.
I like that.
Yeah. Honest.
Yeah, and I honestly I have no problem with that, because I found some books okay, and that's okay. And I was like, okay, cool. At least you didn't hate it. And he was like, yeah, it was an okay book. And I was like, cool, thanks.
Yeah. I know a lot of people that were really happy about your book. They really like the poems and everything.
I think girls like my book more because they can relate to it more. And I'm happy with that because most of the things I write, although I would love for men to like my book, but I think there is too much man hate in it.
Is it?
I don't think you've read the book.
I'm not the whole thing.
Yeah.
No, I'm not even most of it. I've read a lot of the poems, but I don't see the man hate too much. I see the you think that you attribute ignorance to men a lot in there.
It's not.
You haven't been through this, so you probably won't like it.
I don't think it's man hate as much as it's women empowerment as 21st century as that sounds. But it's about women empowerment, I guess, and sometimes most of the things that I write, women will relate to it more because I am a woman. Like, I can't disconnect that from my personality.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just that. I wouldn't even consider it man hate. I feel like it's real,
Yeah.
Because, you're a woman and you're writing these poems, right? And you are actually experiencing these things. So that's why you would,
And I live here. My experience as a woman is not that great. I'm not gonna be like, it's all rainbows and sunshine.
Well, you are an artist who's got a gallery and you got a lot of...
Thanks to no man.
Oh well.
Nice.
True. You don't really well. I mean, we're in a...
Shout out to my dad, though. I love you.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you're in a place where it's undeniably so that women are oppressed here, and me, my views. I'm not too fond of the feminist movement in the West. We can get into that maybe later on, maybe another day, but definitely here. And you've obviously been you've seen those obstacles as well with your singing and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
So. With you, I mean, was it more were you talking about in your book more the oppression that you felt, or just the natural feelings of being a woman?
My book was 3 parts. One of them was mostly about me. One of them was talking directly to the reader, and one of them was a collective, we. Like, it was about us as a society, or 2 people, or I had a lot of romantic poetry in it, which I really like, by the way, because I love reading romantic poetry. But the ones about me are mostly about struggles. It's not about
happiness or anything like that.
What I'm curious about is, because I know one of your paintings, Lucy, one of your poems, Lucy, it was correlated with a painting, right? That's the book, by the way, yes. So did you have any of your other poems in the book directly related to your paintings, or, is it just a coincidence?
Actually, I changed some of the names of the paintings last minute because a lot of them had the same titles as the poems, but then I realized I didn't want the book to be too related to the paintings, so I changed the name. So the one called Femininity 1, the one with the lady in the purple background, that one was called Lilith. The same as the first
right
one.
Yes.
And the one with the wings was called Lucy.
Yep.
So a lot of the paintings had similar titles, but I decided to change them because I wanted people to experience the paintings separately.
Which was a really good poem, by the way. Lucy was actually one of my favorite poems in the book. And when I heard that it was, correlated with the painting itself, it was very, very interesting. I love that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, when people look at paintings and look at read poems to feel something, right? That's what you say. I mean, that's what you.
It's not just that, but
yeah, I agree. But I hear it a lot anyway. Like people will say, what constitutes a good painting or a good poem is how you feel when reading it or looking at it, right? I don't want to get too much into that. I want to get into you as an artist. Like, which one do you feel most expressive with? Is it more your poems or your art?
I think.
Well, your paintings. We've got one here, by the way. We'll look at it in a bit. Go on.
I think my poetry could be more well received because I've been writing for a long time, a longer time than I've been painting, and my poetry is. I think I have a better control of my skill when it comes to writing. With painting, I'm still learning. I didn't put my paintings chronologically, but if I did, you could see how much I progressed from my first painting to my last painting because my skills changed completely from the first painting to my last painting.
Nice.
So I think although my concept in my paintings matters to me more, but my skill is also important and it's still improving. So to answer your question, I think the writing because my skill is better.
Right. So you're more able to express yourself because of your skills being better.
Yes.
Right. So your writing is better. Which one did you start earlier? Your poetry, right?
Writing. I started at a very young age.
What age were you?
My first story I wrote when I was 9.
When you're 9?
Yes.
Wow. I know you included a lot of your earlier poetry in this book.
Yeah.
What was the earliest poem you wrote in the book and how old were you?
In the book, I think one of my poems is when I was 18. I'm 23 now.
Right.
I'm 24 now. I forgot. I'm so old.
Reality
Come
hits
on,
our
it's not
Existential
that
crisis moment.
Hey, you look back at it, we're all doing something right now. We've got the podcast going on, we've got the singing going on, we got the poetry and / painting going on as well. Yeah. So, there's stuff to be, because you're also a pharmacist. This is something I want to get into, right? She studies pharmacy, if you don't know, okay? She's on her last year. And I don't know, for me it's like if someone studied IT and like became a rapper or something, like, do you know what I mean?
Basically.
Oh no. They're polar opposites.
I feel the burn.
Oh no. Okay.
Right.
Both of you can answer this question because very standardized curriculums, right?
What I call it's pharmacy and art are at the very polar ends of the spectrum of soul. So pharmacy is the most soulless thing to exist, and art is supposed to be the most soulful thing that exists.
Yeah.
But I mean, that would differ from person to person. I mean, like, you might consider something such as, I mean, I don't know why you would consider it soulless, but for someone else, it might be, saving lives, which is something that...
Trust me, no pharmacist. I shouldn't generalize.
They're just salespeople, which is great, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm all for salespeople.
But I think being a doctor is about saving lives. Being a pharmacist is about selling drugs.
And the thing is...
Or discovering drugs, but we don't do that here.
So you would say it's soulless because it's not actually focused on saving lives. It's actually focused on making money.
Yes, we take business classes. So that's an important part of our curriculum. We market drugs and we sell them, and one of the most important points about making a drug is counting the profit first.
Yeah.
Which I think makes it soulless.
Well,
but IT is different, I think. IT is an art.
I mean, this is where we differ economically. I mean, she's right, but you're right on some scale as well. But, like, it takes away some soul or some,
Pharmacy used to be soulful back in the day when it was called apothecary, when people used to put herbs together and make a drug and heal the sick. But I think once it was marketed, it's just.
Well, look, you can make money while helping people.
But it depends which one you put first.
No, you put both.
You can't put money first and expect to help people.
Absolutely, you can. Absolutely, you can. If you're not trying to get your customer happy, then that customer's not going to come back.
But
that customer's not going to want to buy from you.
You
again.
can't see a patient as a customer. They're not buying something. They're trying to save their own lives.
I think you can say this about many, many subjects. I mean, I think
Exactly.
you could say the same about art. There
True.
are definitely people out there that would make art just to make money.
So many. Art now is so profitable. I'm not making any money from my art though.
This is not sponsored by Aya. I did not put. She's not paying me for this.
I have made zero money. I've spent money on my art.
Yeah. Well, look. You might not be able to make money, but even if you do make money, I don't think that takes away from
I agree.
the soulfulness of it.
Yeah,
if-
but
if
it
that's what
depends
we're
on the
calling it.
intent, I guess, after all. If you're making art to make money, which a
I
lot of
agree.
artists do.
I agree. No,
Which is, I don't think it's as important as people make it out to be. I wouldn't mind an artist making art to make money if their art is great. Because at the end of the day, the art matters.
Yeah.
But it's still, there is some part of me that's like this romantic, like, oh, art should be made for the sake
No,
of art.
I totally agree. I mean, when you look at, for example, when our favorite artists, as in like, because I don't really like look at art and paintings a lot. I'm not
Shout
really
out to
interested.
Kanye West.
This is what I'm trying to get into. When we look at our, rappers and singers and bloody blahs, their first couple albums always seem to be like
More genuine.
Real,
genuine,
yeah.
from the heart, because they have so much more to write about that's hitting them in the feels, and later they get caught up in a corporate machine. You wouldn't say the same for Kanye West. I mean, because Kanye West still does a lot of like non-mainstream, more intimate kind of music, and I don't like it too much, all of it. But but
I think he's...
it's a regular thing amongst other artists. You know what I mean?
I think artists, they either don't have money and they make art because they love doing it, or they have so much money that making money doesn't matter to them anymore. So the art they make, is still just to make art.
Yeah.
So I think Kanye West is at that point. He has so much money. I don't think... Although I do think he still cares. He asked
Mark Zuckerberg.
Mark
Yeah, but
Zuckerberg
that's for a lot of money. You asked like what, $5 billion or something? I don't know.
That guy.
Yeah, joker. But like I'm just saying, it's a regular thing amongst other artists where they just get, I don't know, caught. The thing is, right now in this day and age, right, a lot of artists make money not from the way that they used to by selling albums and stuff, because of Spotify doesn't pay them very well. These platforms don't pay them very well. It's more of the live performances. Now they make money from going to concerts and festivals and whatnot. And then if you do that, then you have to make your music more and tailor it more to live performances where it's just like boom, boom,
Yeah,
boom.
it's turned up.
Do you know what I mean? It's turned up. It's not something where it's not the type where you're on your bed listening to it and you're really relating to it in that sort of way. It's more pop. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So-
agree.
Which is why you see more pop songs at the top of the charts usually.
Yeah, exactly. You hardly. I mean, you do every now and again see slow songs, but even slow songs are very good for live performances. I mean, you look at people like Adele and whatnot. So we've got this one over here, and you know what? When I was at the gallery, I wasn't really paying too much attention to this one, but like looking at it now, I understand why you brought this one. Why did you bring this one? Sorry, 1 second. I asked her to bring something that we can talk about because we want you to have a taste of, what is at the gallery and what wasn't at the gallery, and this is one of the paintings.
This is called Munchausen by Proxy. It's one of the experiment series. I had 3 paintings that were pure experiments with colors and with painting techniques. Munchausen by proxy is a mental disorder that happens in women usually, most of the time. And there are 2 types. So there is Munchausen itself, in which people make themselves seem sick so they get attention. But Munchausen by proxy is when usually mothers make their children seem sick or actually sick to get attention. So I got this idea from a book called Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. I love Gillian Flynn. She's the author of Gone Girl.
Oh, okay.
Shout out to my cool girls. By the way, Cool Girl is the best the best work of literature of the 21st century. I will stand by that statement.
Oh, okay.
There's a cool girl monologue in the movie and in the book. Okay, anyways, so yeah.
What does that have to do with this? Gillian who?
Gillian Flynn.
Gillian Flynn.
So in her book, one of the characters was a mother,
Right.
and she had Munchausen by proxy,
Right,
and
right.
she used to give her daughters poison,
Right.
so they get sick, so she would take care of them.
Okay.
That's how she felt better. And when I read that, I just felt a certain way, like chills. I got chills. And
What kind of chills?
like scared chills.
Oh.
I think there was a moment in the book in which she was holding a small baby and she bit the baby's cheek, and that moment is stuck with me. It's gonna be stuck with me forever. And it's just this kind of combines the gold in the painting is just the woman in the book was a very fancy, delicate woman, so nobody suspected that she would ever do that to her children.
Right.
And the white is just the chills that I felt. It's just that's how it felt to
That's
me.
nice.
Yeah. So
So wait, they would do this for attention, or they would that's just what they wanted to do, they were just mental?
usually they are very narcissistic people
Okay.
who think very highly of themselves and want the world to think highly of them as well, but not most people feel like that. Everyone wants to be appreciated, but the ways that they would do it. So she would poison her kids, then she would take them to the hospital, she would pretend to take care of them and would actually take care of them. So the doctors and the nurses and everyone in town would talk about how much of a good mother she is. And one of her daughters in the book actually died from she poisoned them with rat poison. One of them died, and just it's a great book. And
If the baby does die, does that mean like she's sort of done what she was preparing to do? Because
No,
I feel
it's
like
not like
she'd feel because in my head it's the sense of maybe accomplishment from healing
Yes.
the child.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? What
Yes.
the sort of high she'd get off it?
Yeah, the thing was, every time her daughters would, let's say, misbehave, or it's kind of a control and power thing. So every time her daughters would not listen to her, they were rebelling against her. She wanted to take care of them. She would give them poison and then keep them in bed and then give them medicine.
So you read this or you watched
Yeah.
okay.
I read it, and this year a show was made of it, which is also great.
Yeah.
And then after which of those did you
The
start?
book.
The book.
Yeah, this was
I think sorry.
no.
Go ahead.
Go on.
Yeah, so I think that would relate to, women being mostly caregivers. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
The whole point. Gillian Flynn writes about women, feminine violence. So to her, usually people don't think that women are capable of terrible things. But most of her books, usually at the end, it's a woman that did. It's a thriller book, and by the end of the book, it's a woman that did the crime or that did something. But they do it in such a delicate way that nobody would ever suspect that it was a woman that did it.
yeah. And was she, just curious, was this woman a housewife? Was she working?
No, she was a housewife. She was one of those. It's in an American setting, so she was one of those Midwestern nice ladies. Yeah.
This is from Sharp Objects.
Yes.
Right. So
Book recommendation.
100%.
and there's a TV series as well.
Yes. There's I forgot her name. The actress Amy something. I forgot.
Not Schumer.
No.
Not sure.
God, I can't believe I forgot her name.
Sorry. So the colors you said, the white represents the chills, the gold represents this woman being appreciated,
And the green is sickness.
acknowledged, and the green is the sickness itself.
Yeah.
Right.
Are you happy with the execution on this one more than what it means to you?
I'm really happy with this one, but I also wanted,
I don't blame you for being happy.
I wanted to talk about how people usually. So this painting did not take me long to make. It looks like it did. Like I talked about how that painter, the man, he liked this painting and he said, "This looks like you've spent a lot of time on it," which was the complete opposite. The painting that he thought I spent the least time on, I spent the longest on, a month. This I spent 2 days on. One day to make the background and one day to make the white. But I just want to talk about how there is so much more to, let's say art or paint or my paintings in general than what people see or feel. So you might see or feel something, but sometimes the things I do are out of a purely technical purpose. So sometimes I'm painting and then I do something because I want to try something. Like I wanted to try making white lines on these paintings. So maybe it will make you feel like there's something there, but for me it was purely out of a technical place. I wanted to try this technique.
So you wanted to try the white and see how it looks.
Yeah. A lot of my paintings, especially the experiment series, it was just me looking at painting. I was like, I want to try this or that. And if people see meaning in it, then it's fine. But
so, sorry. Was this the first time you tried the white lines?
Yeah, I don't think any of my other paintings have that.
Right, and you said that represented the chills.
Yeah.
At what point did you know that it represented the chills?
No, I wanted to draw the chills. I just didn't know how. And I was at first I took chalk and I drew these lines because I was like, what does a chill feel like? And so I drew the chalk. And if I didn't feel that it represented that, I would have deleted it, like, because chalk is easy to wipe away. But I felt it was fitting, and that's why I went along.
I think it's a really good way to talk about. I mean, express chills at least. I mean, like it.
I mean, would you say that's the reason why? I feel obviously it's more of an abstract piece of work. Is that the reason why it would be why you chose to make it more abstract rather than more realistic,
yes,
or is that just a style that you do? Or?
Yeah, how would I draw chills? It's not something that I could realistically draw. Sometimes when you want to paint a feeling, it's either an atmosphere or an abstract line or something.
Nice. Now this is definitely a nice painting, looking back at it. But, some people say different things about paintings. The fact that, some of them, they like how they feel, but because it doesn't give them a meaning behind it. They like the fact that there's no meaning behind it. Do you feel like you had any of those paintings?
Okay, so at some point in my life, I wanted to go all David Lynch with my art because he's this amazing director, artist guy that does not explain his art. He makes really, really abstract movies, which is very hard to do with movies. With paintings, it's fine, you paint something. But when you make an abstract movie, nobody gets it. A lot of people don't get it. And every time somebody would ask him, what does this mean in your movie? He's like, I'm not going to explain my art. Just figure it out yourself. And I think that works for him. But I can't do that. I can't be like, no, I'm not going to explain my art because...
You don't have that you have a bit of obscurity right now.
I think I am not there yet.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, it's sort of like, when Kanye got to that point in his career where, people were like, if he just gives me a blank CD, I'll call it art. Do you know what I mean? Because, you can't get to a certain stage where you've got that sort of...
You've proved your artistry.
Exactly, yeah. And David Lynch, is he like big in the game?
He is labeled as the best artist, the number one artist, the best artist of our century, because the art that he makes.
Labeled by who? You?
No. Go Google his name on his Wikipedia page. It will say that he's the best artist of like the 21st century.
That's good.
And because he's been working for a long time. And everything that he's made is so original. People copy him. You know who copies him?
Who?
What was his name?
Zizek?
No. The
Painter?
director of Pulp Fiction. What was his name?
Quentin Tarantino.
Quentin Tarantino copies David Lynch. Quentin is considered one of the best directors of all time.
If not the best.
Okay, let's not argue about that. But he just... His art, his movies are not something that you could like watch casually and enjoy. There's basically zero plot sometimes, but it's just things people find in his movies.
Give me an example of one of his movies. His best movie, his most well-known movie.
His most well-known one is Mulholland Drive.
Oh, okay.
But my personal and a lot of people's personal favorite and his best work is called Lost Highway, and yeah, his movies are very, very abstract.
No, I mean, I definitely agree with the fact that, that abstract sort of art, that, non-allegorical kind of artistry or wherever it is pretty good, because we're living in an age where we seem like we're being brainwashed all the time. We're being said something, we're being told something without us knowing. We watch media, we watch YouTube every day, we read articles, and we watch the news, and we're being told a story that we feel that hasn't got an opinion or hasn't got meaning behind it, but it really does. And a lot of those old school sort of people, Tolkien, for example, who was telling us about that. Tolkien, they would ask him, J.R.R. Tolkien, the person who wrote Lord of the Rings, they asked him, what does this mean? What does that mean in this article? He said, I don't want my stuff to be interpreted for meaning. I just wrote it. Take it as you will. Do you know what I mean? So, other authors and other commentators, they're not the same.
I also think that would reach a larger audience, because at the end of the day, you can just interpret it into what you want to interpret it as.
Yeah.
And then so that way you're reaching a larger audience. And if you say this art is about this and that, you will have a less number of people, a fewer amount of people, saying that, oh, I relate to this art, because you're actually defining what you want them to feel.
Exactly.
Rather than when you're saying, oh, just leave it up to your own interpretation.
Yeah.
It's it's more personal.
I agree. I mean, look, this might or might not be on the podcast, but you spoke about, I mean, you sang us your song that you wrote yourself. Yeah. And have you named it yet?
I was thinking Murder.
Okay.
Murder.
Yeah, it makes sense if you listen to it, by the way. So how did you feel writing that? How long did it take you? How much have you actually written? That's a lot of questions. Let's see if you can break it down.
Yeah, no problem. So I wrote that song about a year ago. I was going through, a situation in my life, and it was really difficult for me. And the song, while I was writing it, I was just it came just like a poem more. I was writing about the things that I was going through, and what was going through my head was, is this my fault, or is this the person's fault that's making me feel this way? And I got to the conclusion that you put yourself in the situation for that to happen, which is what I based the chorus around. Yeah. And it just became a really, really meaningful song for me, just in general. Yeah. Yeah,
and it's got a really good melody to it. It's funny because you say you wrote it as a poem, but it actually sounds really catchy. It sounds really good, and it's catchy. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's funny how you can write something without the intention of it sounding good or looking good in your.
Well, I like to rhyme. I like to rhyme. So,
yeah. It was really good. I enjoyed it.
So I want to get back to you saying that we're always being influenced by the media or by the things that we consume. I remembered that this could also be, I talked about Gillian Flynn. I talked about David Lynch. This is basically the influences in my life or art. But David Lynch doesn't watch any movies. He does not watch movies because he doesn't want any influences to be based on him. He doesn't consume art.
Okay.
He just wants to make art. And I figured out when I write, I don't listen to songs with words. So I listen to only melodies.
Okay.
Because every time I end up listening to a song or reading a book, I stop reading books when I try to write. I stop reading and I stop listening to songs with words because somehow the influence ends up in my work. And whether I like it or not, the song is stuck in my head. And I wanted to know if that's the same for her when she's writing songs. Do you stop listening to
That's actually music? Really funny, because I was once I was working on a song, and what I was trying to do is I was doing a particular genre, and I was trying to listen to songs of that genre, right? And I was trying to write the song, and for some reason I just couldn't get that song to be done. And even when I finished it, I wasn't very happy with it. So yeah, I definitely agree. Like every song that I actually love is when I've completely blocked out any other sort of song that has lyrics in it. Not necessarily the music. Sometimes I've listened to a piece of music and I've been like, wow, I want to write a song to that piece of music.
So even the instrumental kind of puts you off.
Instrument, the other way around. So instrumental
is fine, yeah.
I get a little bit inspired by, because I'm like, oh, I can write something to this. However, when I listen to other lyrics, I just feel as if I don't know how to bring my own creativity out, and I get confined.
It gets stuck in your head.
Yeah, it gets stuck in your head, and you how you measure your own writing is by the other work that you're listening to, and you're like, is this too similar to that one? Should I make it a little bit more like that? And it definitely kills your creativity. I definitely agree.
I like that. I mean, it brings out what's inside you, what you're feeling, instead of what someone else is feeling, you know. And I mean, that's the best stuff that we listen to, or the best stuff that we like, tends to be that sort of thing. The sort of thing that hits us. It's original. Originality is so hard to find nowadays. Go on, quick one. We have to finish it off. Go on.
Yeah. What I wanted to say, that sometimes art is not pretty or aesthetically pleasing in a sense, but it paves a way to further art. So when someone makes something original, it may not look good at first, but they will pave the way for other artists to make something beautiful out of it. So I think that really matters in the art scene, making
the advancement of the whatever it is.
Exactly, making something original, so other people later will turn into something beautiful. Nice.
Yeah. Being inspired by other types of art is really nice. So, for example, you gave me a painting, a Red Thread of Fate painting that she gave me for my birthday, and I love the painting, beautiful painting, and I actually incorporated that Red Thread of Fate, the idea of it, into my song. So I was actually inspired by a different sort of art than my own. So maybe I don't feel as inspired by songs that have lyrics and blah blah blah, but I was inspired by an artwork, which I later put into my song.
Yeah. I mean, I know people who make songs and stuff as well, different people, and they say they hate it because he's a rapper, okay, and he tells me that he doesn't like it when hip-hop itself is stuck. It was stuck for about 10 years, remember? Between about the 2000s to about early 2010, 2011, then Kendrick and these people came along. He tells me he gets inspired by new artists. When someone makes a song who really inspires him in a way that it's new, it's this whole new type of wordplay, or this whole new type of production, that's what inspires them to make more stuff, because it's hard writing, and it's hard doing poetry, isn't it?
It's really hard at this day and age, because you feel like everything has been done. You feel like whatever you read, this has been done before. So it's really hard to be original, that people sometimes go to extremes to be original. But I think if people just focused on doing their own thing and not looking for outside influences, they could make something real. If it's real, then it's original.
Yeah, and that's what sells, at the end of the day. I mean, look, it's funny, because it's like, if you don't think about what sells, and if you don't think about the influence and what's original and what's not, then it will sell. Yeah. It's a bit of an oxymoron. Anyway, we have to finish it. I want to go on for longer. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Highly OK Podcast again. Thank you, Aya, for coming on. Thank you, Shaveen, for coming on. Remember, over here, I think, there's somewhere down there. You know where it is. You know which button I'm talking about. You know what it does. I don't need to explain it to you, okay? Hit that button. And then the one that does this as well. Okay, that one as well.
That's very simple.
That would be great. Okay, join us again for next week. We might have a midweek one, little teaser. Anyway, have a highly okay day, and make sure to share as well. Have a good one. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. Boom.